Welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us at another APPI Learn by Doing webinar. Uh, these are given by APPI, which is very loosely affiliated with app, in that at this point the precog professionals as part of APPI have all come from app, because app keeps these good records so we can tell when someone is particularly good. And these classes are all here to give newbies an opportunity to learn about this, but also to bring in the old timers to make comments, to hear this stuff again from different angles, and then to do month-long predictions. So what we're going to be talking about today is learning about ARV, associative remote viewing, by doing it. And this gives us the ability to get information from the future, but not perfectly, and that's very important to understand. And I am going to talk about some theory, which I think helps the intellectual part feel really comfortable with this. And then I've already told you a little bit, and I'll talk a little bit more about the precog pros. But in terms of the paradigm shift that many of us believe is coming, where consciousness is recognized as being perhaps the most fundamental aspect of our universe, but certainly things like precognition, telepathy, all of that is going to be taken for granted in this new paradigm of ours. Well, then precognition will be taken for granted, and there'll be professionals out there that are using it for the benefit of society, be part of what we are doing in our new society. Okay, so the outline, I'm actually going to start with some theory. I'm going to talk about something which I'm referring to as the UCC, Universe of Collective Consciousness, and then we'll do our month-long prediction with one session, ARV, and then we'll do the judging. And I'll ask you to actually upload your transcripts with the judging session so we can talk about it, because this is obviously very important. And then we'll get our feedback in about a month. So let's talk about consciousness. More and more, I'm hearing and seeing phrases like this now. Consciousness is fundamental. We're spending time trying to, quote, explain it. There's still people who want to come up with models where you just look at the brain and somehow you can figure out how consciousness comes from the brain. I think the evidence is clearly showing that consciousness itself is more fundamental than the physical world. And certainly in the following sense, everything you know about the physical world comes to you through your consciousness, through this here and now conscious moment, whatever you're experiencing now. And so the idea that consciousness is fundamental, it's worth thinking about. And I frankly think this is the best model that explains both the physical world, and also there's this non-physical aspect. What about things like pure ideas? What about the fact that there seems to be, through something which maybe could be called a soul, information from the future, from the past, from other souls, from other people's minds? All of that isn't happening with electromagnetic waves. It's happening in a non-physical way. And quantum mechanics has given a name to that, non-locality, where you can be in touch with virtually everything instantly. They've already proven, and this is not controversial, that information can travel faster than the speed of light. Okay, so what is this universe of collective consciousness model? It basically comes from, schematically, think of this blue as being both the physical and spiritual universe containing everything, and I mean everything, consciousness touches. So you've got a sense of that. You're conscious right now. Right now words are going into your head right now. Other things, you know, what happened a few minutes ago, that's just memory. But what consciousness touches right now in the now moment, and what consciousness is going to be touching you a year from now, wherever you are, all of those conscious moments are in this universe of collective consciousness. That's what I mean when I say everything, every thought, every feeling, every emotion, everything that you are conscious of, self-aware of, is in this circle. So it basically is all that is, past, present, future. But we can understand that very clearly in the physical world, but there's this non-physical world which we're beginning to touch, I think, more and more. And we don't know everything about it, but there's clearly consciousness there. All of that is in here as well. So the consciousness of, like, a lot of people like to talk about higher selves, okay? That higher selves or guides have consciousness. They can communicate with each other. All of that is in here. All of that is in here. So now, one of the things which is very interesting about this model is that you have to ignore this schematic outer boundary. It's really important to understand, because notice, the moment that you think about a thought and say, oh, you know what, that's not in here, the very fact that you even thought of it, even tried to think of it, the fact that something came in that you're suggesting is outside the boundary, immediately puts it in the boundary. So they're really inside the circle. So there is no boundary. You know what? That's an awful lot like our physical universe. There's no boundary to our physical universe. You know, you can keep going and going and going, and there isn't any boundary because there's nothing outside our physical universe when you're in the physical universe. Well, this is true in this universe of collective consciousness. So what does that imply? Well, that implies this is the ultimate definition of oneness and harmony. Everything is, in fact, in harmony. There's this one universe of collective consciousness, and there it is. Now, we are not in that state. We virtually all the time in our physical life, for almost all of us, separate out things, individual things. I tend to think that when you disappear, when you can merge and not have any individual things out there, including yourself, then maybe that's a state of nirvana. That's one of those great words you hear about that, you know, occasionally people tell you they've been there. Well, that may be when you're here. But generally, we're in a world where we break out what I'll call as a thing, okay? There are no separations here, but if you tried to bring out something and bring it out completely, well, then you'd have a sharp boundary and it would be out here, and we already know that's impossible. And so things, whatever they are, a thought, What you look at it as a physical thing, sounds, senses, whatever you're experiencing, they have to have what's called a fuzzy boundary. I'll call it a fuzzy boundary. It's not sharp. It can't be sharp because there are no absolute sharp boundaries. And so what this does is bring out from this universe of collective consciousness the reality that in this physical world, we're trying to bring this out now, let's say in the physical world, though I suspect this happens in the spiritual world too, but in the physical world, uncertainty is introduced because we have this fuzzy boundary. I don't care what you try to bring out as a unique thing, you'll have to use other words perhaps, other ideas, other concepts, all of which make the one thing you're trying to bring out fuzzy. And you're still connected to the UCC. You're bringing it from there through this fuzzy boundary. You are back and connected with everything, with the harmony and the unity, the universe of collective consciousness that has it all. It's completely entangled. Everything is there. And you get access to that through this fuzzy boundary. Now, all things, you can try to bring out other things, and the way I believe they're connected is through this fuzzy boundary. You basically go down into the universe of collective consciousness, you go over to whatever your interest is in something else, and then you can come back and get information about that. In fact, the information is already in the UCC. You don't come back to the physical world, you just transmit it back. Now, these words have been around, and these ideas, never in this form, but these ideas have been around for a long time. More recently, Ingo Swann called this the matrix, the place where all the information is. There's Akashic records. That idea is really very similar to this. Edgar Cayce, I just happened to be thinking of him, and I looked up a little bit about what he had to say about time and space. You know, Edgar Cayce was that prophet, 1900s, went into trance and got all kinds of information, gave all kinds of medical advice plus other advice. But here he wrote, upon time and space is written the thoughts, the deeds, the activities of an entity, okay? People, presumably all kinds of entities, as in relationships to its environment, say, its heredity influence, hence, as it has been often called, the record is God's book of remembrance. In the Bible, there's talk of the book of life. These general ideas are out there in space and time. He has one other one. As a means of perhaps alluding to the fact that the Akashic records were not simply a transcription of the past, but included the present, the future, and certain probabilities as well. So these are different readings that he did. Okay. Yes, we have the body here, and when he says body, he's now doing something on a person, so he really means a body, and the body's record, as has been made, okay? This is even talking about the future, so it's out there. Okay, and his language obviously is a little unusual, but let me read this. Yes, we have the body here, and the record as has been made and as may be made with the will as exercise. So he's talking about free will here. And the condition irrespective of the will's influence or effect as has been created. So irrespective of the will, nevertheless the information is out there. We have conditions that might have been, that are, and that may be. Do not get the three mixed up or crossed purposes of either. Now my interpretation of that is really Everything is out there, including the probabilities of what might happen. That's something quantum mechanics talks about also. But what does happen is out there as well. And what actually happens is what we're going to be most interested in. Okay, let me now talk about you and how this might relate to, of all things, ARV. So, we've talked about the universal collective consciousness. These are a lot of events. Well, what's an event? Okay, an event is multiple nows put together in a way which is meaningful to you. Okay, so this whole event here might be a baseball game. So this includes everything related to, everything related to that baseball game. Maybe you're driving there, the game itself, all the 9 innings, lots of conscious moments in one baseball game. Okay, this might be the first baseball game you went to as a kid. It's out there now also. This could be something entirely different. Any other event, okay? A basketball game. I don't know why I'm on sports now. Birthday party, happy events. They're all out here. So these are events with a series of meaningful connections. Now, you can ignore these events. Thank goodness, right? You would want to be present with every event that happened in your entire life right now. And so we ignore things all the time. That's one of our important skills, frankly, I think. As important as the remembering, actually. Now, let's look at 2 events that, say, happened to be there and you want to focus on them. You can increase entanglements on these events. Now, you know that. If you go back to some previous event and really work it, try to remember it, make it very important in your life, you light it up, you can increase the entanglement of you working another event, right? So that's not really too surprising, but trying to get you to think about it from this perspective. So now let's imagine that one event that you're doing, okay, in the physical world, but you're connecting also with the UCC, putting all your conscious moments down there. One event is you doing your remote viewing session. Well, guess what? I'm going to make the other event. And we're going to be doing this, so you'll know what a remote viewing session is. The feedback session is another now. You will be putting down in the universe of collective consciousness everything you do at feedback time. Okay? The feedback is when you see the actual target. Here, your task is to describe and sketch the target I see at my feedback session. Okay? You can make these stronger and stronger. You can make this entanglement stronger and stronger. You are creating a kind of handshake between these 2 events with your intention and your expectation. Okay, so, and just sort of get that deep in your gut that indeed, first of all, most of you have been around long enough. There may be some brand new newbies here that haven't yet done a precognition session where it was, oh my gosh, I really was connected with what you said here was the future, but now I really did it. We know it's real. It's been proven scientifically it's real. Our work is to improve it so that we can be part of this paradigm consciousness shift. What you are in fact doing and going through this UCC to do it is when you do your remote viewing session, you are connecting up with yourself at a later time in a way which is basically telepathy. It happens to be with your future mind rather than another person. And it goes both ways. Your future mind is sharing information with your earlier mind when you were doing the remote viewing session. Well, that's pretty cool. Okay, so I just wanted, again, for the intellect, which is a partner here. You know, the intellect is a rather amazing part of we as human beings. In this Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, they have a section on quantum entanglement and information. Here's what they say. Entanglement can be, and this is quantum mechanical entanglement, and of course, coming from the universe of collective consciousness with fuzzy boundaries, all of that is quantum mechanical really in nature. Entanglement can be measured, transformed, and purified. A pair of quantum systems in an entangled state, let's say the ARV system and the feedback system, a pair of quantum systems in an entangled state can be used as a quantum information channel to perform computational and cryptographic tasks that are impossible for classical systems. The key is, and we've given a label to it now, and I will use that label, information channel, because that's just what it is. This is all about information. There's not a great deal of understanding about it, but in fact, we know it exists. There are quantum computers out there now that are using this, and I happen to believe you are the most sophisticated quantum computer out there. You're using your ability in a quantum way to get in touch with the universe of collective consciousness to get information from the future. Okay, let me just stop there. We're about to go and do a prediction, but I just went through a lot of theory and stuff in the universe of collective consciousness. Give me some feedback on that. Did it make sense? Does something like this make sense? That the information is coming in through a quantum mechanical way? Okay, no comments. That's fine. Okay. So I happen to think a model like that helps. At least it helps me try to make sense of the reality of precognition. In fact, it was the reality of precognition that drove me to put together a model that would make some sense to me. Okay, wait, I see people, people are putting things in the chat box. Okay, wait, I didn't notice that. Reminds me where the origin is a test if it is correct. There's a little bit of that, Lila. You know, they've actually done studies where students who go back and actually go over their tests after the fact do better during the test. I thought that was fascinating. They put that out as a study, double blind, students didn't know which were asked to do that, which weren't, etc. But I don't like to think the RV session so much as a test as a fun event connecting up with the future. But the feedback session is very much like getting the test back, I suppose.
So,
okay.
Marty, it's just interesting that I know the word test carries a lot of negative connotation.
Yeah.
I like to test myself, so I don't see tests as negative, always.
Well, and you want to know, I acknowledge that. Absolutely. I get that,
Okay.
Lila. Thank you. Yeah,
okay.
I get that.
Thanks.
I get that totally.
Okay.
Okay, let me see what John said. I think that the simulation theory, okay, we'll have to talk about that. Um, I think they're the same. If I understand what you mean by simulation and even the kind of thing that Tom Campbell is doing with his big toe model, because all of that comes from this universe of collective consciousness, which is, and I'll say just a few more words about this later, which comes through this quantum vacuum field. So the simulations, us maybe being icons in some sort of much deeper simulation world, I don't see that being a contradiction. It's just a different perspective um, on how the world might work, how the universe might work. Okay, so here's the question we're going to be doing today. Will Google, G-O-O-G is the symbol, be over 1,000? Amazing. You know, Google is very well known in the market world as just keeping its price and never doing what are called splits. So will it be over 1,000 on June 23rd? And interesting, on the close, you'll actually see later, I did put on the close in there. Okay, here's the chart. This is daily chart. It shows the open, high, low, and close. Let's just look at this nice big red one, which hopefully you can see. The fact that it's red said that between the opening and the close, it went down. So the top of that red is the opening, the bottom is the close. So it opened here, it closed there in terms of the prices. The prices here, see, 850, 830, you know, moves of 10, 15, 20 happen, you know, not all the time. Mostly it looks like the move is more like 2 or 3 or 4. But anyway, open, close, and then you can see a little tick mark here. I hope you can see it, that goes higher. The top of that tick mark is the high, and the bottom of the tick mark here is the low. So here's a nice green one. This was an up day. It opened there, it closed there. The low was down here, the high was up there. So I made this chart yesterday, and you can see we're up at about 950. 1,000, you know, is psychologically kind of an interesting magic number, and if it does even cross there, let alone end there a month from now, both of those will I think make you know, make the financial news. And we're only talking 50 points. So 50 points, let's say from 900 to 850 is this much in a month is possible. You know, so that's a legitimate, really sounds like a fun yes-no question. I'm choosing financial questions because, again, APPI is about getting people who are interested in doing financial predictions in a professional way where they make money. Also, it's perfect for ARV, and it's a very clear question. It either will or will not be over that price by that time. Now, so let me get us into associative remote viewing for both the beginners, and I've recently taken a new perspective, which is to totally work to get anybody who's listening and who is doing ARV to really grok, to get deep in their gut, the fact that precognition really begins with the feedback session. The conscious moments that you have here will be centered on the truth. It'll be centered on the feedback target, which is what you are earlier at remote viewing time tasked to describe and sketch. And we're doing this in a purposeful fashion. Okay, we're really setting out to do this on purpose. It's not like deja vus or somebody's calling you out of nowhere and the phone rings and you say, oh my God, I bet that's Joe Blow that I haven't seen for 10 years. And indeed it's Joe Blow. Those weren't purposeful. Those are really good examples of precognition. But what we're doing here is different. We're doing it on purpose. And that's very important. And so if you think about ARV, one of the easiest ways to get ARV is to think about it backwards in time. Think about it rather than the way we're going to be doing it forward in time. Think about it backwards in time for a minute, where you realize that this is where the information is, okay, and it's out there now because of the UCC concept. And what are you doing with that information? Well, you're sending it back in some way or other to a remote viewing session, and there your job is to describe and sketch your feedback target with a 6-digit, we use 6-digit coordinates, different people use different things. That's ARV. ARV is entangling this event with this event. Now, there are lots of things that happen in between, including judging, which we'll be talking about. In terms of your task, in terms of what we're learning to do better and better, is all that matters is that your target is the feedback photo site. We call it a photo site because your consciousness, like right now, has access to all these marvelous physical senses. And that's how the information is communicated through your senses, through your nervous system, okay, from this UCC. Well, at feedback time, you're going to be sending your consciousness to the actual target. And from there, you can pick up sounds. You can pick up smells. You can pick up textures. You can pick up the sense of, is this thing really big or really small? Pick up all the information you can pick up, just like you could pick up right now wherever you're seated, by looking around, by touching things. That's an amazing thing. That's what consciousness does, okay? In the physical world, it uses the nervous system. That information with all of your senses is what we call a photosite. So it's much more than a picture. And at remote viewing time, you actually have access to that exact same target where you're getting information from your feedback session. You probably go to the target yourself here just because they're all entangled, right? Once that target is out there and you're experiencing it here, the whole target's in the universal collective conscious, and that's connected with the remote viewing session. And it's your job to describe and sketch what can be verified easily from this photo site. So lots of stuff is going to happen in between. We're going to be doing judging. You're going to be looking at pictures. All of that is irrelevant to your task, which is to describe and sketch your feedback. Now, this backward in time approach, which I just said is the easiest way of understanding this, we will be, and this is where ARV and the judging comes in, to make a prediction. We are predicting something which is binary. It has two possible outcomes, what we call side 1 or side 2. That might be up or down or up. Everything is done kind of randomly. If we do sports, we do different teams. We have different kinds of wagers. All of these could be put into equivalent yes-no formats, 0, 1. It's just all binary. We have two potential possible outcomes which are done by the tasker back here who wants to know the outcome of something, like, hey, will Google be over 1,000 in a month? Well, actually the computer, he'll define the question. The computer will associate randomly side 1 and side 2 with yes, no, or no, yes, and will also then have two possible photo sites, one which will be associated with yes, one which will be associated with no. During judging, it's your job, the judge's job, to say, hey, we really got a good match, hopefully, on this one picture, this one photo site, and not the other. Therefore, the remote viewer got that information at feedback time and sent it back to me. And so that's the assumption, and that's how you choose one picture, one photo site, as being the one which the feedbacker saw with the actual outcome, which is the actual yes or no photo site. So that's associative remote viewing. That's about what we're going to do. How and what is our mindset like now? Well, some of it needs to just simply be, hey, you can do this. The intellect knows you can do it. Your gut knows you can do it. And what I want in terms of communicating with my subconscious are a clear intention, paying attention to my consciousness, and expectation. Intention, attention, and expectation are three of the key words which are ideas that we want to have very present with us when we're doing our remote viewing and feedback session and also the judging. Now here's what Joe and Ed said. Joe's probably the best, certainly public remote viewer in the world. Did all kinds of work, obviously, well, maybe not obviously at all you, but for the Army, he was part of the remote viewing project that our government did. And Ed May has been a scientist working this back from the 70s. So what is clear, at least to those of us on our long-established team, is that intention, attention, and expectation play a very important role in the success of both application and research of remote viewing. And we, of course, are doing application. So what are you paying attention to? You're getting deep in your gut, and you're beginning to do it now just by the fact that we're talking about it, that you're going to describe and sketch your, and we're very shortly going to get that coordinate, feedback target. So this feedback target will be associated with this number. That's the purpose of this number, is to have the tight association with this feedback target. So that's your intention. And guess what? You set expectation and start doing that now. Expectation that you're going to get a really good match that's going to make you really happy at feedback time, okay, when you see your feedback target. And get confident, okay? Just feel it. Maybe you want to fake it, because maybe you just got a miss or something. Doesn't matter. Right now, when you're getting into this, you want to hold with you a real positive expectation that this one is going to be good, and things like I'm going to be getting better and better in the future. And then always be paying attention to what is going on with your consciousness, with your self-awareness. Just being aware is really a good first step. I have recently introduced the 5-second rule, which basically says at any point in time, if negative thoughts come up, 5 seconds, turn it around into something positive and constructive. Okay, I want to put out for you to at least contemplate some percentage numbers. When you do your remote viewing session, man, you're doing communication channel through something like quantum foam. You're getting into this universe of collective consciousness somehow where this information resides. You're not doing that with your intellect. We want your intellect to feel comfortable with you doing it, but we want it to go more or less quiet, but can't go completely quiet because we need a report. We need you to describe and sketch the target you're going to see. But I would say it's 90% from your intuitive side, the non-intellectual, non-kind of day-to-day ego kind of side. It's your subconscious. When you do your analysis and judging, notice those words are very intellectual. And when you do your analysis and judging, it's going to be reversed. Almost entirely intellectual. But there's a hint. The subconscious is still around. In fact, the subconscious is around whether we like it or not. Sometimes you would like to almost say, quiet down, guys. You don't have to remind me, for example, that my last prediction was a miss. But the intellect may very well then, when it's conscious of the fact that the sub has reminded you of something negative, the intellect ought to turn that around and say, oh yeah, but overall I know I'm able to do this, or look how much I've done in the past, stuff like that. So the sub is around. You will be getting information from it potentially, but minimally. And notice what I've done here, and you may or may not agree with this, but I believe that the mindset for the feedback session is one of balance, harmony. During this period when you know the truth, and you intellectually know the truth, but you also are sharing that, hey, this is the truth. This was what my target was. Look at it. And you really get into it. This is the best way to get good, conscious, clean information down to the universe of collective consciousness in a way that makes it shine so that the remote viewing session can pick it up. There really are two different aspects of us. Our brain really has two hemispheres. And this concept, and sure this might be oversimplified, but this concept of an intellectual side, a day-to-day side, your normal ego, and ego's not a bad thing. This is, you need an ego to live your life. That's one part of us. We're living our physical life here. But then there's this other part that is just connected to this universe of collective consciousness. It's connected to the fact that you are connected to something much bigger than your day-to-day self. Okay, there's more than the physical world. There's the non-physical world. There's the world of spirituality. There's the world where souls reside. There's the world of pure information. And you've got access to that, which is kind of amazing. And then you can share. Now, I do like this 5-second rule. We all know it for food. If it falls, it's got 5 seconds to pick it up, and it's okay. The germs won't get at it. Well, I really believe at all stages of ARV, you can use that. If a negative thought comes in, this paying attention, oh, there's one of those. Don't get upset or pissed off or anything like that. Your reaction is to switch to something more positive. For feedback is where I think this is the most important. That's where the slide comes from. But it's also true for the remote viewing session and the judging session. When life gives you lemons, and remember, you're paying attention to your own thoughts now, so when one comes in and you're aware that it's somewhat negative, just make lemonade out of it. Return to wherever you are with a more positive, fun, creative, interested attitude. And you got 5 seconds. Okay, now, we've been talking intellectually about lots of stuff, including the non-intellectual part of us. But what we're about to do now is you can drop all of that, and we're starting to get into a place where we'll actually begin to do the remote viewing. And remember, your intention and expectation is to describe and sketch your coordinate or transcript reference number of your feedback target. Okay, already get yourself in a nice positive mood, okay? We all do better when we're in a fun, happy mood. That's an order. So how do we get started? The whole protocol you're going to be using is called the WE protocol, Winning Entanglements, and it does everything online between email and stuff being done on our server, a computer, and all that information and logic, which includes information stored about your prediction. You'll be doing comments. All of that is stored and becomes available to you later. So it all begins with email. And let's go to my email, which is here. And I put it here. So here's my training and practice. So I've done this one. In fact, I did it this morning at 7 o'clock. I tasked us, will Google be over 1,000 on June 23, 2017? Now here I put the event date, including the start time. So I specifically said 1 p.m., which is when the market closes. So this sort of clarifies the 1,000. Not that that will likely be an issue. But notice, this is what you would get if you were doing this in one of our individual groups. And if you're not in one, just email me and we'll put you in one or more. And so there's a group name, here's the tasking, and then all you do is click on this. One of the points which I hope you'll go away with here is how really this is user-friendly, because you now are starting with tasking given to you by a group manager. You click here, and up comes a page like this, where it's now asking you for your email address, your personal email address. Individuals will be getting their own unique target. So you can't read anybody else's mind in the future. You're going to have your own unique target. Here, because we're doing this in the webinar, I'm going to be representing that person here. So I put in my email address. Here's webinar workshop. These are other groups. And we're going to be doing one coordinate. More advanced people will get into 2 coordinates, but we're doing 1 coordinate now. And there it is. So on this page, so that's how easy it was to get a coordinate. So write down, this is, each of us will be doing this coordinate for the one target associated with that coordinate. And you might say it out loud now. It vibrates through your body, 929068. That vibration is something which you'll do again at feedback time. Okay, so 929068 is the coordinate. Okay, so let's now set up our piece of paper in a way which is roughly what's done. People always come up with their own ways. People have been trained different ways, but generally this is the way it's done with this kind of information. Up in the upper right, put the name, today's date, which is the 24th of May, and the time. And then this coordinate can be put on the top. This is all preliminaries. You still got too much intellectual going on, but that'll go away. And this shows what your transcript, the kinds of information that we generally want on transcripts. The coordinate when you start, we're going to do what's called a cool down, but when you actually start doing your session, you will start by writing this coordinate again, and spontaneously we recommend doing what's called an ideogram, a pictogram. You know, the UCC is working through your nervous system, and this not only gets it going, some people think in a very cryptic way all the information about the target is there already, and sometimes they'll come back and pick at it. But that just is 1 or 2 seconds. You do it very quickly. And then typically what comes in are big picture things, the gestalts. When you look at a picture, the very first thing that you might get from it, you know, if there's lots of water around, if there's a big mountain, you might get the idea of water. You might get the word water. You might want to draw a wiggly, watery thing with the sense of water or mountain or something else. I mean, if a color is dominated, if the target were totally dominated with the color red, you might see red in your, you know, mind's eye, or the word red might come up, or, you know, if you work with colors, or if there's a dominant shape, you might get that shape. But what comes up, what seems to be shared first, is a gestalt-like item. And then we always want sketches, because sketches just are not intellectual. If something pops up, an image, a line shape, generally we don't expect, and almost nobody gets a whole clear image of the target. It just doesn't come in that way. It comes in pieces. And so you might just get a shape of some sort. You might get a circle or a part of a circle, a square, a rectangle, an edge of a square, or just some odd shape that doesn't have any word, but it's a shape. Put it down. Put down whatever your consciousness gives you once you start. And then we have the kinds of words and stuff that can come up. And here's, you know, examples of the level of words that come up. You don't generally get and don't want to get the names of something. You know, you wouldn't want necessarily, but when it comes up, that's fine. Eiffel Tower, if the target turned out to be the Eiffel Tower tends not to come up. The communication channel works in lower level words. But if Eiffel Tower comes up and you think it came from your intellect, put it on the right. That's called analytical overlays. In other words, you drew something like a triangle and it must be the Eiffel Tower. Well, it must be the Eiffel Tower. Your intellect jumped in, and you'll get a sense of that. That's one of the things that's so fantastic about what you're learning here, is to listen to the subconscious versus the intellect. So you put it over here, and it doesn't necessarily even mean it's wrong, but it meant it came from your intellect, and you got rid of it. That's where the trash part comes up, so that you can get quiet again and go down and get some more information through your subconscious. Now the kind of words like dimensions, here was square, triangular's probably in here, here's diagonal, angular, above, across, all the kinds of words that you might use if you try to describe a place, this photo site, you tried to describe it, but you were maybe 3-4 years old. You've got kind of a low level, very fundamental kind of dialogue about what goes on with objects in the physical world. You've got the smells, you've got your tastes, bitter, bland, sweet, sour. And then you get these aesthetic impacts. A feeling will come in, maybe something like you might be afraid, amazed, anxious, awed, friendly, depressed. One which people talk about sometimes, boring. Ugh, they'll criticize the picture for some reason, and they'll be feeling boring. There's nothing much there. They'll get that. Somebody else looking at that same picture might really be able to get into it in a big way. It's very personal, but you're only communicating with yourself, so that's exactly how it should be. Now we're about to go into cool down. The idea here is to calm down the intellectual part and get it as quiet as possible so that your subconscious mind can be a witness to the information which the state it's in is one of being a witness. Okay, so what I call your subconscious mind, that's basically the communication channel. In many ways, the subconscious mind can be viewed as that thing which communicates, has the ability to communicate the information from this universe of collective consciousness up into your conscious mind. Okay? All you have are your conscious moments, but where does that stuff come from? Well, it comes from your subconscious. And notice what you're doing. We call it a mental discipline because you are mentally using your intention to quiet your intellectual mental part to be open to receiving this information. And you're paying attention to this all the time. Now, I want to connect this up with the quantum foam because I recommend when you do your cool down, that's what you get your intention and expectation to, that you really realize that nothing in the physical world, we say there is nothing like in empty space, but nothing is really something because nothing comes from this quantum field which exists at the very, very, very small level. And quantum mechanics doesn't disagree with this. All physicists would accept this, that at the very low level, the very smallest levels, and we're talking very, very, very small, the energy going in and out of the physical world from what looks like nothing, because it didn't coming into the physical world from like nothing, coming in from this UCC. And there's some sort of communication that gets into the physical world from the UCC, and there are different models out there for that. But imagine yourself, and you can imagine your body and the field maybe near your body being the vehicle for getting this information. I think that's helpful. And during all stages, so this is called like a quantum foam, at all stages in the ARV process, just really be aware that your subconsciousness is this communication channel, part of this channel process between the physical and non-physical. And this 10 to the 35, what you have to realize is this is blown up by a factor of 10 to the 35. So that's like a 10 with 35 zeros after it, something we can't really understand. So that's coming from the very, very small. But you know what's so interesting about that? You're huge compared to that. Your DNA and all the vibrations associated with that are connected to this quantum world. You go down to any point. Your nervous system is huge if you were to stretch it out, but it has very, very small parts in it, which are, almost this size, a bit bigger than this, which are able to interact in quantum mechanical ways. And I just wanted to put this up. The brain in your gut. More and more we're finding that the nervous system has special almost subsystems. One is in your gut. When you get that gut feeling, it may really have come through your gut. Also, there's one around the heart. Your emotions are an important part of this as well. Okay, Marty, enough talking about this. Let's do it. Start getting yourself ready. Your cue is describe and or sketch your 929068 feedback target. You're going to your feedback session. Joe McMonagle has made the statement that this cool down is 75% of the discipline. And basically what that means is to get rid of the irrelevant stuff and to keep your focus on the feedback target and to get there, to make that connection through the UCC, through your higher self, through however, with that feedback target. So we're about to go into a 10-minute period, very roughly, and this is very rough because people do this very differently, and some people think 10 minutes is too long, too short, so that's why it's about right. Use about half of it for this cool down, getting into this place where you're open to information from the future. And then the other half of the time, roughly, for actually doing the session. Here is a hemisync, and I'll put this, let me put this in the chat box. This is hemisync, which the Monroe Institute uses and Joe McMonagle used to help you get into that state. That's what he claims it did for him. It helped him get into the state where he was more receptive to receiving the information from the universal collective consciousness, higher self. I don't even know how he thinks he gets the information. All he knows and cares about is the information comes through, and that's what will happen with you. After about 2 minutes, to get you a sense of time, there'll be a statement may put out. First, let go of your physical senses, your body, and turn inward. So by that time, some of you may very well be ready to be receiving the information. And then at a minute before, there'll be a warning and I'll bring you out. So with that, take a few deep breaths and let's begin.
First, let go of your physical senses, your body, and turn inward.
You've got a minute to go. Actually go down and get another element or precept using your subconscious. Okay. You guys back with me, I hope. And if not, if you want more time, you can take it. It just won't be as quiet. And not everybody needs quiet. I did see, I looked at the chat box. I did see that question about the timing. And yes, we always do put a date and time associated with these predictions. I think you did see that. And John, I saw your comment again about a simulation approach, but also a field. And I think that is important to understand. We said as you get smaller and smaller at every point, you are making contact with the universe of collective consciousness. You can think it that way. But as soon as you go over into that world, all the points are connected. And so indeed, it is a complete connected field. So that's a good word. Okay, so what now? You've done your remote viewing. Guess what the next step is? You've now basically predicted what you're going to see in terms of a photo site at feedback time about a month from now. Now we do the judging, which is where an actual prediction is made on the yes/no. So we're going to now match transcripts to the two possible targets. How do we get those targets? Well, before I do those, let me do this. I think it makes sense to do this now. We're using, for comparing your transcript with two possible photo sites that I'm going to show you shortly. And the way you will do that judging is using this Russell Tarr confidence ranking system. He did this at SRI with a few other people, but he's the first author. And basically, he is trying to quantify how good the match is. So a 0 says no correspondence. And let me tell you, that's actually hard. There's usually something which overlaps if by chance. And 1 says, okay, I got a little. 2 is where you're basically saying this was just chance. I got maybe one little shape and maybe I got one color, but there was an awful lot of stuff that was off, and I don't think I made any psychic contact. And guess that happens to everybody, even Joe McMonagle sometimes. So you give it a 2. There's just not much going on. A 3 says there's a mixture of correct and incorrect elements, but enough of the correct elements to indicate that the viewer has made contact with the target. So the 3 is, yes, I connected with the target psychically. I do feel that, but it's on the boundary. It's the first time you can say that. 4, you now feel really comfortable with that. We now have good correspondence with several matchable elements intermixed with some incorrect information. And this good is kind of important because there's a level of strength to these matches. Some matches just feel a lot stronger. They came out of nowhere. the sketch came out of nowhere and it's really good to one portion of the photo site. You know, there's a strength component to this, these matches, and this is what we're getting into when you get to a 4. And then a 5 is all of the below, but even more. He uses words like unambiguous, unique, matchable elements, but still some incorrect. It's not like perfect, but unambiguous, unique, matchable, you know, is a higher bar. It has to be something really super special to the matching photo site, or enough of them that it really is really rather clear to you at a very high level. Now a 6 gets into naming and the function or the target itself. Sometimes you might actually name the function of a target. It might be in the form of an AOL or not. But if you name the function, that obviously is really good. And now you're getting down to relatively little incorrect information. You really were tuned into your psychic connection with that particular target at the feedback time. And then excellent. I mean, this is like spot on. You've named it, you know, for example, and essentially no incorrect information. So that's the 0 to 7 system. We'll be using it. 3.5, remember 3 was just on the margin. Yeah, I made a psychic connection, but I was just there. A lot of people are uncertain. Different judges change things usually by about 1. We've said 3.5 is wagerable. If you give it a 3.5, you said, I'm willing to wager a few bucks on this. So that's what that means. Before we get the 2 pictures, let me also do this one. You need to give yourself space and recognize that the communication channel just is something which you are developing. It's something which, frankly, you've been developing your whole life. You know, this is a communication channel with the most fundamental part of reality. I call it the UCC, and so it's there. Memory, I guess, is one example. That's part of the communication channel. But memory of the future is something which we're working on now. And what we see all the time is it works in metaphors, analogies, things similar to, resemblances. And you just need to kind of get that. That's why we call it analysis and judgment. Was my sub really trying to tell me this about this particular target? And so when you judge, that's what you're going to be judging. You don't do this where the skeptic asks our remote viewer to describe what's in the envelope. The remote viewer says it's a charcoal drawing of a woodchuck eating a small orange, and the guy says, nice try, fraud, but that's a long way from an ink drawing compared to charcoal, right, of a beaver, woodchuck, tangerine, orange. And the subconscious can sometimes stray a bit further away from that, and it still might want to say, yeah, but not too far. So it's a judgment. You don't want to push it too far because you also want to train your subconscious. You want this communication channel to get better, okay? And so as you're doing this, be very aware of, oh, I might be pushing this, I might not. No matter which way you go, if you mark it or not, just be very aware of where you are, because that's training the communication channel. Now I want to give you an example of what I'm going to have you do next, and that is you have your transcripts. I haven't yet shown you the pictures. That's the very next thing, honest. And notice what's done here. You'll have 2 pictures. One will be called photo site A, one will be photo site B. Notice this person, Julie, and I'm not showing you the picture because that's not the point. The point here is, here's her transcript, some sketches, some words, here's her ideogram. Next to every element, every precept that she got, she puts an A or a B. She didn't, well, maybe that A was supposed to be bigger. If something is really right on, I'd like to put a bigger A, and you might want to do that too. But you go through every element in your transcript and you mark it with an A and B. Or nothing. In other words, here's something and not marked. None of these AOLs are marked, which meant it didn't match either one. And that's what you do. So you get either an A, let me see, here's an A and a B. Okay. I'm going to save that issue. Now let's go get the two targets. And how do we do that? Well, remember this here. This is where we got our coordinate. So from the standpoint of the user, you did one click, you put in your name, you got here, you got your coordinate, you did your remote viewing session, and now you need to upload it to our server so your group manager can use it. He may very well use it. Also, you now have it available to you permanently on our server. We save this and you get access to it. Now what I'm going to do is, since I didn't do a session, I'm going to put up what I call a dummy transcript. It's just some text that says I'm a dummy transcript. And so you put that up, and now you're ready to do the judging. So the time you've taken, I like to actually put a break time in between the remote viewing session and the judging session. Everybody is a little bit different that way, but know that when you click submit, and I just click submit, you're going to see the two pictures. So already as a judge, you're beginning to have thoughts. Okay, and remember, this is roughly 90% intellectual. So those thoughts are terrific. And you should start putting A's and B's on your transcript. And I have this here. So here's the TARG scale. So go through each element and be open to it being either one. And some words might have multiple meanings, and so it could match both, or it might match neither. But right now, right on your transcript, you should be putting next to every element A, B, A and B, or nothing. And if there's a particularly good match, put a big A or a big B. Okay, so I'm going to make a table of this. And what I would like you to do when you're done, and this takes a while, this is probably, well, certainly the most intellectually straining and challenging and interesting. Keep it interesting. Do not get too emotionally involved, even if you get a good match. In fact, let me finish. I want to show you. Okay. So here we go. Okay, let me now just show one other. I wanted to show you this example because after you go through once, I want you to go through it again because judging is quite challenging, and very often people will get a miss and say, oh, and go back and look at their judging, and they'll see I totally misjudged it. Because during the feedback session, we're going to look at your transcript again, and we're going to look at all the stuff which is right. And people will say over and over again, how did I miss that? Now this is another example of things that happen, and this one just happened yesterday, and I thought it was so interesting I wanted to share it with you. During the judging, we try to keep emotions down, and this is maybe one of the reasons, but it does in fact come up. Here's what he said to me, this Bill said to me. He emotionally felt something during his AJ session, analysis judging, what we're doing now. Whenever I get such a strong correlation of feedback with the designated picture, it makes me nervous. He ranked his as a 6.5, okay? So that's, you know, as high as it gets essentially. His 6.5 made him nervous because he earlier had gotten a miss with that. What I said to him was, what is your consciousness trying to communicate? I mean, this came up. It's obviously partially communicating to him that he's still carrying with him and he wasn't able to drop this nervousness. Now, in my mind, I've seen this so often that I'm making this statement to you. Most, maybe even all, misses and displacements can be tracked, I believe, to the analysis judging session. Now, sometimes the analysis judging session is just off. That was the example I gave before. You go back, and I got a miss because I didn't see all these things that were really right on, and I should have chosen the other picture, or maybe I should have given it a pass because it was just as good as the other one that caused me to get a miss. Or overall the judging was bad, and even I should have just passed completely. That happens. But the other situation is when you get a really good description, and that's what happened actually to Bill, a really good description of the wrong picture. What's going on there? That's displacement. And I think the remote viewer, for whatever reason, and they'll come up with reasons, I'll come up with reasons, they precognitively tuned into this judging session that you're doing right now. Don't do that. You want to keep it intellectual, which minimizes the brightening of it. You don't want emotions. You know, emotions are a great entangler. And so you don't do it on purpose, of course. Don't do that. But to learn to not do that, I just recommend increasing your intention and expectation on describing the feedback target using this 5-second rule.
Hey, Marty,
Yep.
this week something happened to me. You know, I had a miss last week, and then I did the last assignment that you gave us.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I drew a totally different drawing. I didn't have the sense of anything connected, and then I got the same two pictures, only reversed. And, you know, I got angry, and I felt like I was betrayed by the computer because the drawings didn't really, what I had connected with was not those pictures. And so I kind of been upset about it for a couple of days now. I mean, I tried really hard to set it aside today. I think I did because I got good connection with one of these pictures. But why would I get the same two pictures that I just got a week before that I had a miss on?
Yeah,
I don't know if it was a mistake by the computer, but I really felt betrayed, and that's the word that I felt. And I just wanted you to know that it really did affect me because I I felt like the pictures I was supposed to see was not being given to me because I really feel like I did connect with something, but not those two.
Okay, let me respond to that on multiple levels. First of all, the reason you got it was chance. We have 800 pictures. I have on my to-do list, and it's been there for a long time, to not allow repeats for anybody who hasn't gone through substantially the whole list. In other words, do you understand what I'm saying? Each one is chosen
Right.
randomly. And that's about what I see. I get that complaint about one out of every 800 times. So it was chance. Now, more
But it was like
importantly,
just a week apart, and it was the one I missed, and I just thought it was like it was playing a joke on me.
and that's the second part that I want to discuss and explain because it's so important. Trust me, there's nobody who is in this mysterious work, if you will, that doesn't get angry. Bill got angry, or nervous at least, or upset, and it's part of the game. And it's still with you. Try to use every time it comes back. Try to use this 5-second rule, and turn that thought around into something more positive, like, oh yeah, okay, so it happened, it pissed me off, but now, look, I know I can do this. I've done it before. I've got all these good hits behind me, and that's what I'm going to do in the future.
Well,
So,
that's what I did today. You
perfect.
know, all morning I've been telling myself that and setting it aside. But I just want you to know I really was upset because it was like I was expecting pictures and then I didn't get them. And I'm in my mind, I know that that what I drew was something else that I didn't get. So
Yeah, well, you went someplace else. Who knows why? Who knows what?
yeah, yeah.
Okay, did you let
Thank
now
you.
everyone who has got their transcripts going, if you would, I would love to be able to see and discuss a copy of the judging transcripts. Um, so if you will scan, take a smartphone picture of, get it onto your computer, and then just attach it to an email to me. Um, so that's the next step, and then that's what we'll do is turn them out. So yeah, I can see some of you are already doing that, which is great, and I'm putting them on a spreadsheet. Uh, and but yeah, okay. So while you're waiting, even those of you that are done, it really makes sense to go back and did you miss anything? Are there other interpretations? Um, okay, so let me go there. Okay. All right, there you are. 3.5. Three. That's as that's about as big as it's going to get. Someone asked, so I'll make it big there. I can make it big that way. And I guess, yeah. Okay. And then Millie. Enter. Tab 5.5. Okay. Every time you do this, I hope you smile, no matter which way things go. I'm looking at the CRs, and some of them should just give you pause for smiling. Okay, five. 1, 2. Okay, so I have 5 now. I'll leave this up here, and again, if you're judging, just take as much time as it takes. Judging probably takes more time generally than any of the other sessions if it's done right, because you need to go over each element and then probably go back a second time, make sure you don't miss anything. Sometimes you see this sort of consistent story, which gives you a lot of confidence and let you rank it higher. Okay.
Marty, can you make the pictures a little bigger?
I did it for a minute for you. Let me get this and I'll do it again. You probably weren't looking at your screen. Okay, wait, hold on. Okay, so it looks like the first one I've got was Evelyn. If I miss anybody, you will let me know. Okay. Put that there. Okay, so this is the kind of comparison we'll do. Evelyn, why don't you put your, here. So this one is bigger. Okay, Terry, you looking at that?
Yeah.
Okay.
That
Yes, I
definitely
am.
looks.
So that's B. So that's photo side B bigger, and just mark the A's and B's. Okay.
You know what? I
Oh, what
didn't
did you do?
realize that was a chicken.
You sent me, this is Evelyn, right?
That's me.
Okay, so you didn't do the A's and B's. You sent me your transcript without the A's and B's, right?
I forgot to write it on there before I sent it off to you, yeah. But, well,
Okay.
I
Why
sent it
don't you,
off to you
why
before
don't you tell us? Go ahead, tell us about it.
I, I got, everything is pretty much for the boy, but you know what, now that you made it bigger, I didn't realize that was a chicken. And so that fits with another thing, because I wrote the word comb, and chickens have a comb, and I thought the comb was his bangs, but the comb was definitely the chicken. So that's even one more
okay.
correlation
So
that I didn't
and
know
you've
was
got the
there.
face, which obviously matches, so that's a big
Well,
B.
the first face was so nebulous, I didn't try to draw it because it started out to be a person, and then it morphed into a cat sleeping, which probably would be my cat. And then the second face was definitely male. I thought it was an older male maybe, but I knew it was a male. And I see now with his teeth and stuff that that's kind of in what I was seeing. I think I
Okay.
thought it was a long face of an older male, and then the comb, I saw kind of a just
Yeah.
that something that shape and kind of a brush, and I'm thinking comb and brush, but the comb fits the chicken.
You're now thinking there. That's funny. That's interesting.
and
But I'm also
and
looking here, and this looks
and
not only like a comb, it looks like the hair.
right, it does. And then the shape that I drew at the bottom, that actually could be the shape of his cloak and all that with his head. It was just kind of it was almost like a mountain shape with,
Okay, did you
and
mark that as a B? So did you
I
mark
marked it,
A's?
I marked that as an AB, but I
Yeah.
marked everything else as a B except, the faces, the two at the top could be a rock, so I have to say that they could be they could be an A, that could be a
That
rock,
looks
and
like
the
this.
second one down could be a rock, so because that rock at the bottom almost looked like it has a face on it, so I gave those a B, and
Okay.
and um
But
and
you
then
ended off
but
judging
the
it
The loving, living, laughing, those are definitely B.
Yeah, yeah.
At the very top. So, and the ear would be a person, you know, and that ear was probably the chicken was maybe what I was thinking was his ear, because that's the last thing I got as you started talking. I got the idea of the ear and wrote that down. So I definitely think I gave it a 5.5 on B and a 1 on A because
I'd give it a little higher than a 1 on A.
You think so?
Well, as you said, The Rock, you know,
okay.
I would give it a 2.
Yeah.
This is the kind of stuff you might get randomly. I mean,
all right.
Yeah, that's all. Just, you know, and that's no big deal. People differ by 1. Okay, very good, Evelyn. Thank you.
Hey, one more thing, Marty.
Yeah.
The comb shape could also be the comb shape in the waves on A as well. Let's just see all those.
Things like this?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe.
I will put an A there then.
Yeah, maybe. But I would call that a small A. Again,
yeah, it's really
important.
Go
with the major part of the picture, but
it's really important to label when you're on a session. You cannot just leave it just blank. It's very important for us to really probe and then detect.
Yeah.
Because your mind can go like easily off tangent when you're not labeling it.
Yep.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let me find. Okay, so we just did you, Evelyn. Let's do Millie. Okay. I see. Let's see if I can make this. There we go. And then I should be able to bring up. No, that's not what we want. We want the 2 pictures. There we go. Okay. Millie, why don't you talk to us? Oh, I don't see your A and B's either. Did I tell people to? I guess I told people to upload it a little bit too soon. Okay.
I didn't write A and B.
I'm sorry, say it again. I didn't quite.
I didn't write the A's and B's in, sorry.
No, that's okay. I mean,
but,
the viewer is in charge.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so tell us about this one.
So it felt like energy, like pure energy almost. And I got a lot of AOLs, like a gumball machine track, which is like you put in a quarter, and then the gumball kind of like swirls around down, and you open the little thing, and the gumball pops out. That was my AOL.
Interesting.
So that's where all that stuff came over. And maybe the bulldozer was perhaps trying to describe the sound of the ocean, but I put that in AOL too.
Okay, so the pure energy then you would put as an A because of the ocean and everything.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Diabolic is interesting. What was the meaning of that to you?
I'm not sure. I did understand it, but I kind of wrote it down without like trying to logically understand it.
That's exactly the right thing to do, of course. You want to keep the logic out of here completely.
Yeah.
I don't see a connection with either of those unless, no. Okay. What else? You gave it a 3 for A, so certainly all the motion and stuff supports that.
Yeah, like kind of, it's a little disorganized, but like the sounds of the dull, distant, muffled, the in and out, back and forth, kind of like the ocean coming back, and then the waves going back and forth, and then the up and down, and then the moist and misty. So that's where that stuff came from.
I think that's pretty strong, actually. The in and out is strong. You even have water ride. cool, cold, icy. I guess you don't know that for sure, but moist.
Swirling.
I'm looking at this.
Swirling.
Okay, let me just make my statement. Then I look at this and I have no problem with the 3, but if you had given it a 3.5, I went to quarreled. You see what I'm saying? Just because you have some good stuff, but that's me. Anybody else want to comment on this? Someone's going to say something.
Yeah, I was mentioning swirling as a really big aspect of
Oh yeah, you
target
agree
A.
too. Yeah, I think she got.
And the water, repetitions of water.
Mm-hmm.
Twice, I believe.
Yeah.
And distant, wavy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, they're both distant.
Okay, so you agree that if she gone 3.5, that would have been appropriate.
Yeah, even 4.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's why we do these, so you can get that kind of feedback from people. So Millie, thank you. Very nice. And that's Millie. Okay, Ramel, let's do you.
It's big.
Okay, there you are.
Small, yeah. I gave the A as 5.5 because the target, let me just go through this.
Yeah.
Rising upwards, that would be an A. The waves floating, I feel like it says here floating high. I felt like there's this musicality of it as well. There's a movement altogether.
Did you not put an A here for some reason?
I was just in a hurry to get through it. I don't want to have to go through though because I'm pretty much, I have a lot of information and I don't want to have to go.
Okay. I just want us to know,
Yeah.
when you do it for, and also you don't want to take too much time talking about it here, so I get it, but when you're on your own, it really does pay to take the time to do it, I believe.
Time to do it.
Okay, go ahead. You're a Precog Pro. I'd like you to do it on all the Precog Pro ones.
I sense a musicality, moving, traversing across, sloping and moving again, always moving. So I felt that's definitely more of an A to me. Protruding, that can be both because the chicken thing protrudes as well. White, that's both. Soft. I'm just going to go through the...
I like your little A.
Here.
Yeah,
fluid, and then there's a container in here. It's contained, which is more of A to me in terms of the aspect of how you look at the photo site.
But this was...
there is another one of here's like a boundary line as well in here, elongated. To me, that's more of an A. Going down to page 2, there's really cool description here of like there's something elevated, and I put it as, I even describe it as a volcanic rock. Blackened, hard, rough, rugged. So that's definitely more of an A to me because of the perspective. And there's a boundary in here. And then later on, and then I also got to, some stuff with the backpack. I believe that would be more of a B. Protecting, adventure. And then I have my S2.5. I sense I'm up in the mountainous, rugged terrain in Hawaii, volcanic rocks all around me, high elevation, magnificent spectacle. I felt the magnificent spectacle is more like, if I see this rock, I would be like, wow, it's amazing that how can that possibly not fall off, things like that. Certain element of that as well. Windy, I believe more of an A because of seeing the waves rushing through, and it's always constantly moving. And what else is in there? Oh yeah, on this one is really cool. I like this one.
And that was a big A with quotation marks.
Yeah, because it's just describes the whole theme of the sky, the water.
And this is quite interesting because that's where the rocks are, which you called volcanoes.
Yeah. like volcanic rock. So
Okay, this, yeah, I can see why you gave it a 5.5. I want to point out something, and I'm not sure you did it, okay, so it's not a criticism, but I've seen it done a lot. And that is, I noticed you made this one a small b.
which one are you pointing at? I can't see it.
You can't see my screen?
I can see, couldn't see your cursor. It's not.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Oh, there you go.
It's the
Yeah.
clothes.
The mouth.
I mean, she's obviously got clothes. It's protecting her.
Oh, yeah.
And the point I want to make with that is, and this is one of the most difficult parts of judging, is staying unbiased the whole way. After you got so much of A, okay, I think you somehow intellectually felt it's going to be A and you downgraded the B's.
Yeah, correct.
Everybody just, okay, good. I'm glad you said correct because
oh yeah,
this
I'm
is
not arguing. Yeah.
Everyone does. And so thank you for doing it and acknowledging it. And
Oh, yeah.
all of us don't do that. When you judge, you need to be a fair judge. If it turns out that this is the feedback picture, we don't know, right? The outcome's not out here. We're just describing you would say, oh, shit. Look, I really did get this. You know, and while you've got multiple people here, I mean, she's a people, and two life forms. So judging is the challenge. And having said all that, the strength of this, I think, supports your choice. So, anybody else want to comment? Okay. Thanks, Ramal.
Marty?
Yeah?
Bill Higgins here. I had to go out and get into the call.
Okay.
But the photo site A is what I got.
Oh, okay. Did you send me a transcript?
No, I haven't sent it to you yet.
Okay, I'll tell you what though, at least so I can put it in here, give me your 2 CRs.
I only have 929068.
No, the confidence rankings.
Oh, I'm sorry. 6 on the rocks and 3 on the person.
Okay. If you can upload your transcript, I'd love to see it. We love to see 6s. Okay? If you can do that, that'd be great. Then we can talk about it. Okay, let's do Lila.
Marty,
Yeah.
on this last one you did, you know, this girl is in Afghanistan, according to the text there.
Right.
Afghanistan is a hugely rocky, hilly country. You know, there's horrendous mountains there, and you can see mountains in the background. So I think that, you know, on that last one he drew mountains.
That's true.
And that is Afghanistan.
Well,
so,
and he said volcano, so
and,
that could have
and then he has the row of people. Well, there's kind of a row of huts there that could be like that row of people. So that one drawing that he gave to all to A, I think there's as much of B in that one as there is in A. I find it interesting that Rommel and I are almost always exactly opposite.
Yeah,
in these.
And John says the same thing. So there are some people who are like that. And please, you know, now that you said that, be very clear that you're not reading anybody's mind but your own future mind. So I don't know why this opposite is, you know, we don't have enough data to really know that, but it's happened a few times. Okay. Oh, I look at this, the little A's and big A's here as well. And when I said big, I meant it's just communication in our regular world is so hard. You wonder how you can communicate with the future at all. Okay, go ahead, Lila. I see you use this little A and big A approach too. That's good.
Yeah, and Marty, one thing I've noticed even when I'm doing the group RV sessions is, without a doubt, usually I want to put something down, but I don't put it down. And then when I go to view the pictures, oh shoot, I should have put that down.
Right.
But I didn't. So it's
You're
kind of
not
funny.
alone. You're not alone. And
I
we always
know.
instruct people, if it comes across your consciousness, hey, your consciousness gave it to you, put it down. But
Yeah.
sometimes people say there's too much or whatever. So anyway, you're not alone, Lila.
Okay. Okay. So I think it's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, a lot of A's, a lot of B's. The only thing I would look for, was there anything super surprising or...
To me, the drawings down in the bottom, the AB one that I drew,
Yeah.
that pear shape, yes, that one,
Yeah.
that was very prominent in my mind. And I think that's definitely the photosite A. And it could be B. I should have made that a little smaller B.
Okay.
But I think it was more correlated with photosite A.
Yeah, I would say so.
Huh?
And my mind is also, I see a lot of wet and stuff like that.
Yes.
But what was B that caused dry, probably? Love, that's cute. That's warmth. I don't know if warmth actually goes with A.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, it's sunny. There's no clouds, so I don't know if it's warm there or not.
I don't know either. No, that's what I said before. It could be in Hawaii, in which case it'll be warm with warm
Right.
water. Yeah, soft.
We
Yeah, I
not
don't know what to say. It's interesting, and you were the one who I was commenting on that should have smiled. Lila gave, and you can see why, she's got a lot on A and a lot on B, 4 and a 4. And that happens a lot. Sweet, large.
Oh, yeah, I got warm also.
Okay, well, it may be warm there. That's something I would say we don't know. That's the way I put it. It's definitely not warm here. I mean, she looks like she's covered up. Got snow in the background. But it is earthy. Furry, yeah. Okay, so you passed. Nothing wrong with passing.
Okay.
Yeah. So thank you, Lila. Go ahead, Bill. I'm sorry I cut you off.
What were the votes on A, photosite A?
You're going to get that. We're going through this, and then I'll show that after we get done with everybody.
Marty, she had a staff animal
Yes.
on one of her descriptors. I think that's definitely a B on
Yeah.
that one.
Oh, she didn't mark
Staff animal.
Yeah, if it said animal, obviously I would agree. Okay, let's look at Donna. Okay, Donna.
Good morning.
Good morning. And let's just make this a little, no, you can see everything. Okay, beautiful with your A and B's in color too. And actually I do recommend that because you're going to be looking at this at feedback time also. And that's why some people will actually do this on a separate sheet of paper. You'll work out your own style, but I actually use colors as well. And then a different color for feedback. Okay, so let's see what you have here, Donna. Your total was 4.5 and 3.5. So why don't you explain to us why you did that, as we all...
Yes, sir. Well, my gestalt started out as a big sky and some flat ground, so openness, which could go to bowl, so there we went from there. But I did feel that it was warm with a slight breeze, which I gave to A because obviously she's wrapped in a blanket. And then somewhere into this process, I got the word blanket and I threw it away because it just seemed weird. So I threw it in the wall and off I went. But I was feeling this smooth, cold, hard texture, kind of like, I should have said it, it's kind of like a statue or a sculpture or something like that. Just a hard, cold, smooth surface. Blue and green could be A, or blue could be A and B, white could be A and B, green, I'm not seeing it anywhere, so I don't know where that came from, but then I got to sounds and I felt like I was hearing a gurgling, but then I tried to put myself there And when I did that, it was more like water moving over over rocks.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of felt like A, because there's no water even in B. So
Right, for sure.
and I had this strong feeling the whole way that this was a place where somebody went to reflect and be in nature and be in a quiet place. That was really strong the whole way, and that's why I kind of leaned towards A, because it just felt like that when I saw it.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I had this pushing motion, which I didn't put A by, but it was. And then, though, I had this hanging or holding something up and a person. So B was pretty strong in there. The reason I gave A higher ranking was that feeling the whole way that
Right.
when I said, what would, in my feedback session, what would I feel like if I was in that picture, you know, the correct feedback picture. And that came as being in nature in a place that I'd be reflecting.
Wow. And reflection, I mean, that's what these things are. These
Yeah.
are, right.
That's what it felt like to me, that you were there and you were just contemplating or reflecting something and you wanted to be in a
Right.
quiet place and leave that symbol there.
Okay, no, that's really good. I'm trying to see if I think a B, just now looking at this and this, if I think it was worth a 3.5.
Okay.
What, and you tell me what
Well,
made
that
it wage?
person there, and then I don't know what's in the background, but this other drawing that I have B by felt like structure, like either walls or a pillar or something like that.
A blue
And
sky.
that girl, and then the blanket thing of everything else, that blanket that I threw away, because it came into my mind really
Okay,
fast.
that's
It was
true.
like, blanket.
That's
You know,
true, yeah.
what?
Yeah, and you might be getting that from this session, which you don't ever, ever, ever want to do.
No, I don't know.
You know, that's what, right now we're just talking about this stuff, just like you talk about other things you see on the internet. Okay, very good. Thank you. Yeah, no, that was, anybody else want to comment, but that 4.5, I think that's okay. This stuff here is good, and seeing what you said, that's why self-judging sometimes is the right thing to do, because you felt it the whole time.
Yes, I felt
during
that
the session.
remembering, like a remembering or a reflecting time where someone just was sitting and,
Right.
you know,
And that
thinking.
was during your session, so that's great.
Yes.
Oh, Terry, okay, this is the one with, we'll skip that if you don't mind.
Hey, Marty, I sent you an email with the...
I've got it here. I've got it here. It's on the screen. Okay.
Oh, I see it.
Yeah. So let me now, I need to turn it around, and I can do that using this tool. Just give me a moment to do this so that I can see it. So I'll do this. Then I save it. And then this allows me to rotate it. There we go. Okay.
Anyway, my descriptors, you probably can't read them, but it was a hard rock, brown, gray.
Yep.
Over layers,
Oop.
people. I don't know. Somebody had to take the picture. Motion was swoosh. Bottom, you know, I guess I picked up the surf. Blue, silver. Hard, break, silver, ocean.
You said ocean. Yeah, your handwriting.
My hand sucks.
Yeah,
Ocean,
okay, but nevertheless, ocean obviously is strong.
Motion, fluid waves, splash.
Fluid waves?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, and even your sketches here look rather fluidy. Oh yeah, here,
Yeah.
fluid waves, right.
So I mean, there wasn't even any conversation. It was initially
Sort of clear to you. Sounds of whoosh, airflow, splash, you're right. And sometimes, you know, eventually as we get more and more people who get better and better at this, that's the hope. The judging will become very simple. The only reason it's not simple now is because the transcripts are not as clear.
And I'm always anti-red, because if red comes into my thing, it means that I'm wrong. Because every time I got red, I'm wrong.
Well, please don't accept that, because what if red is supposed to be here? You got to watch your belief systems. There are other few key words that come in, and belief systems is one of them. And what you just said, you don't want that to be part of your belief system, do you? Every time I see red, I'm wrong. So tell your sub, oh, that's silly. Again, you can use partly intellectual, so you got to feel it in your gut.
Because A was so defined in my observation, which is probably why the answer is B. But the point is A was definitely the only.
No. Again, you're being negative. No reason to be negative. Just stay as positive as you can. And when the negative thoughts come in, right now you certainly made contact with this. And I have every reason to believe, except for your negative comments right now, that you connected with your feedback target. Wasn't that your intention?
That was the intention.
Okay. Did you expect that?
I didn't take any cool down. I went right to the picture.
Did you get into a place where you expected it? With all the negative stuff you were saying, it's almost like you're not clear that you expect to get it right. You expect maybe to get it wrong. And work on that. Work on that. You know, there's certain things which you take for granted. Getting to a place where you take for granted you're going to get good hits almost all the time. Not every time, but almost all the time is a good place to work to be. And sometimes that's difficult, of course. Okay, did I check your numbers? So this is all of them. Make sure I've got them right. And
Marty, you said mine should be a 2 on the A.
yeah, and you're okay with that? So let's make it
Yeah,
that.
I'm okay with that.
And if anybody else wants to change, until we fill out the group or you fill out the 0 to 7 choices here, you're a judge. You're allowed to change your mind. You're allowed to go back and do more research and look at it and see. And in fact, you should probably go over these things generally more than once. Okay, so what I now like to do for the group judge, you would each do your own. Obviously, Bill would go, if this was his own, he would go for A. So would Donna and Ramel on their own. But Evelyn went the other way. If she was by herself, would definitely want to go with whatever direction A photo site B is associated with. And notice we don't know that. The only one that knows this now is the computer. Okay, but this is a 3.5 for me. Different group managers do things differently, but I give 3.5s a gray. And this, of course, should be a yellow. And well, these cancel each other out clearly, and so I'm not even going to mark them. Well, unless anybody has anything else to say, right? This is pretty clear, don't you think?
Marty, this is Lila.
Yeah? Hi, Lila.
I tend to mark mine lower than I really feel, and I thought A should have been a 5 for me. I really feel strongly that I was getting that shape.
Okay. And you said that we didn't talk about raising it. The thing which we all have to be careful of, and again, I don't know that you did this, but it's almost hard not to, is when you saw all the rest of these people going in that direction, you might say, oh, okay, so it makes more sense. And that's when you said it.
I feel like I did not do that in this instance. I felt like I didn't see anybody else's, and no, I really feel very strongly about judging A as a 5 for myself.
Very good. So then you would put down here a 5 and a 4, and you would come up with what we're about to come up with here. So that's good. I respect that. My comment also is related to what's called telepathic overlay, which you don't want to do. But remember, the subconscious has access to everything. And so in the military, they used to talk about that, where several people would go some way and another person would tend to go that way because everybody else was going that way. Remember, we know you have access to everything. I call it through the UCC, other people call it through everything else, but you have access to everything. And so you might be influenced by other people. In fact, that's one of the reasons we generally give different pictures to everybody. Okay, so I think this one is pretty clear from the group manager standpoint. So I'm going to say prediction is for photo site A, and I don't know what that represents yet, but all I know is that it's photo site A. Notice we stay blind to all the details for as long
Marty,
as possible.
you've got a question in the chat box there.
Thank you. Terry said you don't think you count. Why? Are you now, you're being influenced by all of this, or? Terry?
No, I just, I don't think you're supposed to have 10 impressions for any one site, are we?
As many as there are.
Oh, okay. All right.
No, I know what you're thinking about, because in the past, you would put a higher confidence ranking. You didn't quite, it's the confidence rankings that have to be between 0 and 7. The
0
number
and
of
7.
elements and precepts are as high as they go.
Okay, for confidence.
Okay, so now let's put this in just looking at the yellows. Wow. Okay, well, let's make this a 5. There was a 4.
Yeah, Marty, we don't have Terry down for anything.
Did I not? Did we not? Thank you. Terry, did you?
No, you didn't.
Did you give?
I sent it into you. Yeah, I think you got it.
I'm sorry.
If not, I'll send it again.
No, here it is. You know what? I thought that was a duplicate. I am sorry.
That's okay.
Let's just do it. Will this let me rotate? They don't usually. Okay, so there are your A and B's. Whoa. Oh, yes, it will let me rotate. Okay, very good.
There we go.
And let's get those 2 up again. And I see you gave, oh, you gave a photo. Oh, you did it again. You gave a B. All you did here was give me the count.
Yeah, I didn't do the other one.
You didn't go to the confidence. Okay,
ranking.
Let's do it together here quickly.
Okay.
We'll do it together. But no, the confidence ranking is that TAR confidence ranking 0 to 7.
Right. Okay. Sorry, I had quite a few interruptions this morning, so.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So let's all take a look at this and we'll judge it. So I see the count. Land, yes, A and B. Handmade.
Man-made, yes.
Yeah, man-made. Yeah, that's clearly a B, but I don't know what you would call this. That was certainly man put that together. That wasn't natural.
Yeah.
What is that word?
And I don't have any natural ideograms there. However, I was confused by all the water, and actually the weight of the water ideogram is hard, which would mean to me that it's snow.
Oh, so that, see, and I can, okay.
Just on the line weight.
Okay, but then, I sort of looked at this all now. I understand what you said with the snow. What I don't understand is why motion energy would be a B. I think you might have fallen into the trap of thinking it was B early on, and wouldn't you say motion energy should have an A next to it?
A and B, because the girl would be moving as well. So yeah,
well,
you're right.
I see a B, but I don't see okay. Yeah. Oh, you've got motion energy twice. Oh, I see. Here you did A and B. Here you did B. Here you only did A. Biologically is B. Now water, you did B because of the snow being water?
Well, the line weight on the water is hard and so and very firm. So to me that says snow.
Okay.
But I was very confused when I opened this because I saw so much water, but I clearly felt two biologicals. So I was confused until I realized when the picture was bigger in photosite B that there's snow there. And then I checked the line weight of the water and it's definitely hard.
Huh.
On the left, the water there on the left.
So let's give you some confidence rankings here.
Okay.
Let's see if I can find that. And based on, see, this is the 10% intuition you're bringing in. And I have no problem with that. You know, you went back, it's hard, it's snow. Let me just see.
I was so distracted this session, but
well, okay. And you want to know something? Maybe that's grounds for making it a little lower.
Yeah.
Okay. So with your transcript, what would you give the confidence ranking here?
Oh.
Well,
I feel I got the biologicals.
Yeah.
Both biologicals, and I feel like I got her cape, the girl's cape, because it's just the way it's wrapping around that one biological.
Okay, so what do you want to do? Clearly you're above 3.5. You want to give it a 4?
I think so. Yeah, I could go up as far as 4.
5 seems a little bit high.
Yeah, it does.
4 seems reasonable. And then the other one, maybe a 2.5 or something like that, though you had water if you're going to come back. But okay, so let's close that. Let me close that. I want to bring back this. And so you're a 4. No, the other way. You're a 2.5 and a 4.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad we did that because I'm still going to go with A, but this kind of pattern, for reasons we don't understand, happens a lot. And I don't know if it's actually trying to tell us something, or it's just the way none of us are 100%. So it's not surprising we get our misses, and maybe this is just the way they distribute themselves out.
Marty?
Yeah?
Would you wager on this if it was you?
Yes, I would wager on photosite A. When I make a group prediction, that's basically what I'm saying, is I would wager. And here I'm going to give that a 5. You know, and you see the only reason I sometimes might not wager is if these numbers are this close, being like a 4. But I think a 4, you see, for the good side, I do use all the yellows. For the bad side, I take into account that there were, well, this one's a yellow too, but I take into account things like, notice these are only 1 apart, still. And there are a lot of lower ones here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 versus 1, 2, 3. So it's a judgment call. But I think I would have to give this a 4. I mean, we've got enough high ones here. So I am going to put this in. It's going to predict photosite A. I would probably wager very lightly if I wagered at all, just because the two numbers are too close. And now I'm going to say webinar. Predictions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, okay. Webinar predictions. 7 total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 with greater than 3.5. On side on or 4 photo side A, and then 1, 2, 3 predictions with CR greater than 3.5. Do I count that 4? Okay, anyway, mostly again this is a class. Each person would put in here what they felt was really relevant to their judgment. You know, so the things you said to me verbally, a lot of those should go in there. Okay, and only now, I'm now about to click on the submit, we will find out which way it went, because photo site A was randomly associated with yes or no, and photo site B was randomly associated with the other. So now we will find out. Okay, so we predicted no. Okay, so photo site A was randomly associated with no. Just repeated what I said. And here is the event. Will Google be over 1,000 on June 23, 2017? So we've said no. Okay, so the answer is no. I'm going to add it here. PSA was randomly associated with no. Now I will say when I made this prediction and put it down, I did it because there was a good trade if the answer was yes. Because if you remember the stock, the price I showed you of Google, it was down 50 points. And so you could have bought a call. That's an option to buy it. And you could have bought a call very inexpensively at that price. And when it got up there, unless it did it on the last day or so, it would have been worth a fair amount of money. You would have made a profit. We could have gotten a call for, say, $999. But if it says no, you don't really know what's going to happen, and so there's no trade, which is fine. You know, not everything we do has to lead to a trade.
With the target being this Google stock,
Yep.
and you haven't read the newspaper today and following MSNBC, you would have to say that Google's going to be down to about 500 by that time.
Whoa! So this will be a hit for us. Notice we went into this not knowing anything about it, and if you're right, then this becomes a hit for Photosite A. What was the news, just real briefly, just out of interest?
No, I mean, it's unraveling for Trump. He's going to be down the shitter pretty soon.
Oh, you're saying the whole stock market will go down?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, maybe, though, you know, people may still watch earnings. Anyway, we don't know, but that's our prediction. So our prediction is it will not be over 1,000. And let me now go here. I've been showing this one a lot. I even showed it earlier because remembering that in ARV, what you're doing is interacting through your communication channel with yourself. I just think that's beautiful. Telepathy is real. There have been a lot of experiments on that. That's one of the things which more and more people are willing to accept. It doesn't push the belief envelope as much as precognition, but it pushes it. The problem with telepathy is it brings up all those fears of other people reading your mind. Well, there's no fear, nothing unethical that you can imagine in reading your mind. You don't want somebody else necessarily to be able to read it, but you don't have any problem reading your own. So it should make you feel very kind of safe. And what you're doing all of this with your own conscious awareness, and you're learning about that, learning more and more about consciousness, and how to apply intention, attention, and expectation. But also it forces you to look at your belief systems about things. Hey, what does upset you and why? You know, those upsets clearly are things which make perfect sense to where you are now, but I think it's fair to say it's likely that's a creator of noise. You know, anger, fear, everybody, going back to whenever, talk about those as negative kinds of emotions which probably put blocks to your doing the communication channel, which you do intend to do, you know, and expectation, you keep working on making it better. But it's things like negative thoughts, things like anger, fear, that create noise, among other things, many which I suspect we don't understand yet. And this is something which is much broader than just ARV, because this communication channel is around all the time. And so it is involved in the rest of your life. And so just really be aware and pay attention to what your consciousness is, what you're becoming conscious of. Especially those that, again, seem to come out of nowhere from your deep subconscious, your inner self. Many different words for that. But it's there trying to communicate with you all the time as well. We need to learn how to listen better. Here's something which you now understand this, right? This is the universe. There's no boundary really. This is the universe which includes consciousness, not the physical universe. It includes the physical and everything else, the non-physical, the spiritual. How about this being you? Think of this being you. And I think you'll admit that you're a bit fuzzy. Where do you really end? Where do you really begin? And that includes physical space, since you're sending out electromagnetic radiation from your body all the time. Okay, so that's you. Well, this is you. You are a tremendous being. This is you with your boundary, if you will, your fuzzy boundary. But guess what? Inside you is a connection with this universe of collective consciousness. The way you would perceive it, it'll have a fuzzy boundary, okay, because most of us are not in this nirvana space. But you indeed are connected. And this is a quote from Skip Atwater. Skip was the guy at the RVR Army unit. He actually initiated and headed this unit for the whole duration. And so he was one who was doing all the reporting to the various agencies that use them and stuff like that. Well, he reported actually to his supervisor who reported. Anyway, so he was in the middle of this for a long time, obviously, had to also contemplate it, make sense of it. And this is what he said. Some say that we pass from spirit into the physical at birth, and conversely, pass from the physical world into the spirit at death. I say that we never pass from the spirit. It's the spirit that is doing the communication down in the universe of collective consciousness. And that then passes up information into your consciousness. Okay. And all of that, as we become wiser and more conscious, really can I believe, big time, lead to healthier, wealthier, and wiser lives. So that's the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Marty.
Good job, Marty.
Certainly welcome. Questions, comments?
Thanks, Marty.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Marty, it's
Thank you, Marty.
Well, and I really do thank all of you, because I just like doing this, and I couldn't be doing it if there weren't people that were interested, and you clearly are. So all of you.
Marty, how close are you going to be doing this up to the convention time?
I'll probably stop a week or so before.
Okay.
And I'm thinking after the convention I may go to once every other week. We'll see how I feel. Every week is getting to be a bit much, and I'm seeing, which is great, all the same people, but you know, this was intended primarily for the newbies. No, maybe you can talk me out of it. We are doing we are a part of I think a first ever experiment of sorts, and that is that we are doing month-long or more predictions. And we're about to demonstrate, once we get enough statistical data, whether or not, at least in this format, the way we're doing it, you can get significant precognitive information. So.
I think we should keep doing it, Marty.
Yeah. Okay. It's just that I'd like to have new information every time, and it takes, well, okay, let me think about it, and I'll talk to you all about it some more. So.
I was wondering if there was a way we could have like a place for us newbies to be able to chat together or send each other messages or something without
do that
sending
in the general discussion list. No, those kind of questions, anything concerning this subject with newbies ought to be the general discussion, because you have an opportunity then to get answers from all the experienced people.
Right.
I mean, I may answer sometimes, but sometimes I don't. There are other people out there that might know more or be more available, whatever. Yeah, so no, do that stuff definitely on the general discussion list.
Okay.
Okay, don't forget to get your feedback later. Oh yeah, everybody, one way or another, always do feedback. We'll do feedback sessions here for this one. You see me do that where I give you the coordinate and it reminds you. But if you come across it later and it's a long time and you don't have a feedback session, you prompt me and I'll tell you what happened, or I'll give you feedback, but you should always get feedback. Always.
That one that I was talking about, that the pictures were switched, I didn't get a feedback link on that one. I thought the computer automatically sent that after the event was over, but I didn't get anything on that.
You got confused with the judging session. That was where you spent so much time and energy and you were upset. That one probably has not been actualized yet. Remember, you only get your like for this one, you're only going to get a feedback a month into the future.
Yeah, but the event was the same day. I did the session at like 2 in the morning, and the event was that day. Later that day, it was the basketball game.
Which group?
It was the Carve group. It was the basketball game, the one that...
I'm not sure. I may have not done the feedback yet.
Oh, okay. All right.
If you haven't seen it and looked for it, I may not have.
I didn't know whether that comes from you or whether it was automatic from the computer.
Comes from me after I know the outcome of the game.
Oh, all right.
Okay,
That's
so
good.
In fact,
And thank you for all your hard work. I know this must be hard to keep track of all these groups and all this different stuff happening.
Well,
and
computer
still have a life.
A lot, but thank you for that. It does take its time and has its challenges sometime. However, you guys are the ones who are demonstrating that precognition is real and can be used to make money, and other ways, but it can be used in practical ways. Okay. Thank you all. Good. Thank you. Take care and keep precogging.